Hi, this is Abe Vigoda, and you're listening to The Ken Behrens Show.
And I think you'll recognize this next voice, too. Hal Linden, good morning.
Following Abe Vigoda yet?
Yes. What a transition, huh?
There you go.
Yeah. How are you?
Morning to you, sir.
It's a pleasure to chat with you. I have to tell you, Barney Miller was one of my favorite shows.
Rightly so. It was one of mine, too.
Yeah. And I guess it was after that. I don't know where I've been, but I hadn't learned till, I suppose several years after that went off the air that you were into the singing game. And actually, you started out playing a clarinet, didn't you?
You've got the timing backwards. I started out as a clarinet player, and musician, and a band singer, and then a singer on Broadway. So I did all the musical stuff long before I ever became Barney Miller.
Yeah, I guess that's right. But and you come from a very musical family.
Yes, my brother is a professor of music at Bowling Green State University, and I've got cousins all over America playing in various symphony orchestras.
People who are listening, of course, probably have some questions for you, and I didn't ask you ahead of time. I thought it would be okay if we maybe took a phone call or two from people.
Sure. Ask me what Abe Vigoda is really like.
Was that the only show? I was sitting here thinking, was Fish the only show that was a spin-off of Barney Miller, or were there other ones?
No, Fish was the only spin-off of Barney Miller. There were others planned, but I think the disastrous results of Fish kind of talked everybody out of doing that.
You know, you look at a very successful show, such as a Dick Van Dyke show or a Mary Tyler Moore show, and very talented people try to reproduce other kinds of shows, and a lot of times it just doesn't work. And Barney Miller was one of those shows that just clicked. And maybe it didn't click. Maybe you know a lot about it that I don't.
The problem is that, as expressed in a book once by, I think it was William Goldman, he said, the only wisdom that we can come away with in our business is that no one knows anything. That it's all seat of the pants, and somehow some kind of chemical reaction that puts people together that makes it work. Now, we know what a good script is, and we know what a good concept is, and we try to emulate them every week. But it still takes some kind of unknown chemistry that either makes it work or doesn't make it work.
And you have to have the energy to do whatever needs to be done at the right time.
You just have to keep doing what you think is right all the time, that's all. Half the time you fail, and half the time you succeed.
Yeah. Now, this is very technical, and I suppose a lot of people don't care and don't worry about it, but I'm amazed. When I look at Barney Miller, that was a videotape show, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And yet it had that look as if it was filmed.
That's technical, as a matter of fact. That is technical. It was the work of a lighting man named George Debe, who, quickly, so we don't bore everybody to death, but when you shoot tape shows with multi-cameras, because you have many cameras working, the lighting is what they call universal lighting. It's generally very flat, so that you can stand just about anywhere on one side of the lighting and not be looking into a lamp. George had a way of doing it that made it look like film lighting, and I don't know how he does it, but he's the only one I know who knows how to do it.
It seems to me even the camera angles would jump around more. You'd have different shots, and it just...
Oh, that's another thing about Barney Miller. Barney Miller was was created by a man named Danny Arnold, whose background included being a film editor and a sound editor, and he was very conscious of making sure that the show was shot properly, and so we took an awful lot longer to shoot Barney because of that.
Yeah. How would you describe your character? You just seem to be surrounded by complete insanity at times, and you always managed to hold your cool.
I was the island in a sea of madness, and I was the audience's identification, and I was the one who had to maintain a certain calm in when everything else was going to hell around me. That was the character's function. It was very frustrating at times, I got to tell you. There were a lot of times I wanted to get involved in the comedy, but I had to kind of bite the bullet and be the calming factor in order to maintain that stability that the audience looked for. If we were all crazy, nobody would have identified with anybody, and then you would only have watched the show. But when there was at least one character who was sane, who kept everything in order, that's the character you could identify with, and you started to see the piece through my eyes.
Yeah. And you directed a couple of episodes, I believe.
Quite a few, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
You were on Car 54, Where Are You? You were on Hollywood Squares, Love Boat.
One of my big hits.
You got to do other things besides the Barney Miller, and yet that's the one that's going to stay with you. You know that.
Of course, yeah, but that's okay. That's so far. You haven't seen the new one yet.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that. That's an hour show, isn't it?
An hour show. It's called Jack's Place. I, of course, play Jack. Jack's Place is a restaurant, bar, cabaret, owned by a former musician, singer, entertainer, who settles down and opens this place, and what we're going to have is an anthological series of many, many stories going through the Jack's Place. All regular cast, myself, Finola Hughes from General Hospital, and a young man named John Dye. That's it. The rest will be all guest stars every week, new people coming through Jack's Place.
So, do most of the stories take place in the restaurant, nightclub?
In and around, not necessarily. They kind of originate in, maybe, or end in, but they involve us at one point or another.
Well, I want to wish you a lot of luck with that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I know you just got back from a world tour.
World tour.
And
how do you top a world tour?
you're going to wind up here.
Oi, right?
Yes. Let's see what the date is. That's going to be on April 22nd.
April 22nd.
At Illinois State University's Braden Auditorium. And you will not be doing Barney Miller, but you will be doing Hal Linden singing and whatever, right?
And whatever. A little of this, a little of that, a little of everything.
I have seen you sing, heard you sing, and you are really good. I have to give you credit. It's not just, here's a guy that's out of work right now from a TV show who decided to sing. You've got some talent.
Well, as I said, I did something like 15, 16 years on Broadway in musical comedy. So I've got a lot of background, a lot of training, a lot of experience in that end.
What kind of shows were you in on Broadway?
Whoa, I think I did something like 21 Broadway shows. I think about 17 of them were musicals.
You have any favorites?
Well, those that affected my career most positively. Bells Are Ringing with Judy Holliday, and The Rothschilds, which finally won me a Tony.
Judy Holliday was something else, wasn't she?
She was great lady.
Born Yesterday comes to mind.
Yeah, great lady.
Movie, yeah. I see where they're going to redo Guys and Dolls now. That you weren't in that one, were you?
No, that's before my time, actually. I know it's hard to imagine that there was anything before my time, but
I don't know how many. Yeah, Stubby K and people like that come to mind from the original.
I've done it many times. Not many times. I've done it a couple times in stock. As a matter of fact, I did it with the original cast. I did it with Sam Levine and Vivian Blaine once. So I've done it a few times. But
she was in the original, wasn't she?
Vivian Blaine and Sam Levine, sure.
Yeah. Is there one musical you would really like to be in? I mean, is there one that just...
I haven't done yet?
Yeah.
There are a couple I haven't done yet, but I've kind of lost my interest in redoing other people's work. I felt that way for many, many years about Kismet, for instance. I always wanted to do Kismet. I went out and did Kismet in summer, so I got that out of my system. I always wanted to do Man of La Mancha. I did that about 4 years ago in a national tour. I've never done King and I, and maybe I'd get the opportunity to do that one of these days. But I'm much more interested in doing new shows. Matter of fact, after I finish this tour, I'll be doing a new play, a straight play, in Los Angeles, and I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
I'd much rather do new material and kind of start from scratch.
When you do a TV series, maybe you get spoiled in a way because you do get new material all the time, although it means you have to memorize lines and all that, doesn't it?
Well, that's okay. That's not the hard part of our business. The hard part of our business is memorizing lines and getting them out in an interesting way. That's the hard part. It's not just the memorization of the lines.
You put in long hours when you're working on a TV series.
Yes, you do.
829-2345 is our number, or 1-800-322-9377. That'll get you into WJBC. We're talking with Hal Linden this morning, who will be coming to Illinois State University, and we'll talk more about your show. If you have a question for Hal, any question about Barney Miller. How long has it been since Barney Miller was on?
Ask, what was Abe Vigoda really like?
Yeah, okay. Actually, I had Abe Vigoda on. He had just...
Sure you did. I heard his tape.
He had been working on Joe and the Volcano, I think, about the time we talked with him.
All right.
And he's an interesting guy.
Yes, he is.
We'll be right back. You're interesting, too, and I'm glad to have you with us.
Thank you, sir.
It's 11:15 in the morning, and this is WJBC. We'll get back to your phone calls and more conversation with Hal Linden in just a moment.
You say the water in your shower is so hard you're all black and blue. You say your water is so rusty your hair is turning orange. You say you're afraid to drink your water because of all the bad stuff in it. Is that what's troubling you, Bunky? Well, then lift your head up high and call Elson Water Conditioning in Chenoa. Elson Water Conditioning, that's Mr. Water Care. And Mr. Water Care has a better way. Call 815-945-3491. That's 815-945-3491 for Elson Water Conditioning of Chenoa. Serving you since '62.
Ask most people if they've ever tasted soy oil, and they'll say no, which is true, even though it was probably in their cereal this morning or in their salad dressing last night. You see, soy oil is used in lots of the foods you buy because it has no taste. That's why it makes such a great cooking oil. It lets other flavors come through. Plus, it's low in saturated fats. Not bad for a product nobody's ever even tasted. Soy. Taste the food, not the oil.
Brought to you by Jewel Food Stores, funded by the United Soybean Board. Investing check-off dollars.
Rootworm damage to your corn can take the joy out of harvesting.
There's not a farmer in the world, I think, that likes to go through a field and have corn laying down across the road and running your snouts right down on the ground and picking up every rock in the field. It's an awful good feeling to know even beforehand that you've put Lorsban down in your corn.
Feel good about your rootworm insecticide choice. Use Lorsban 15G.
The right choice for all the right reasons.
It's 11:17, and you're on the air with Hal Linden. Whoops, they gave up on me. How about you? Good morning.
Good morning, Ken. And good morning, Mr. Linden.
Morning to you.
Wanted to tell you how much we enjoyed Barney Miller, and also another show that I think you did where you were a magician.
Right, Black's Magic.
Yes. I couldn't think of the name of it, but we enjoyed that one very much, too. And just to make your day, I will ask you, what was Abe Vigoda really like?
That's on that. You had him on the air. You heard what he's really like.
But thank you for all the entertainment you've given us. We've enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, what is the state of affairs? You're concerned about the writing and motion pictures. It seemed to me, when was it? Maybe in the 70s we had a real dearth of stuff, and you found some pretty good actors who were really going beneath their dignity, I think, to work on some films. You know what I'm talking about?
You're always going to have that, because there's a... good and popular do not always mean the same thing. And so you have people who are interested in doing popular and people who are interested in doing good, and the actor gets caught in between. There's a lot of things that I've done that were not exactly, what I would be proud of today, but first of all, you don't know it until you get there. And it has to do with the attitude of the producer. It has to do with the attitude of the studio, who's ever doing it. I mean, if it's being run by somebody whose only interest is getting a successful series, then very little attention is going to be paid to the quality of the.
Yeah. Have you ever worked on a show where you really were in the dark? You weren't sure how the director was going to edit it together, or the film editor was going to edit it?
Oh yeah, it so happens all the time, unfortunately. And when you get into the looping room or finally see the final product, that's when you get your shock. That piece of business that you thought was so wonderful is not visible at all because they've cut to somebody else at that time.
Yeah, and I suppose they could ruin a career if they wanted to. Maybe they never want to, because I would
go out of their way to ruin a career. I just think that look, everybody's got a different view of the world, and we all see things differently. And an editor may think this is important and that's important, and edit it that way. Maybe the producer or director agree with him, and that's it. You're out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know any actors who get final cut. Directors don't even get final cut, but there aren't too many actors who can be in control of their final product. But that's the problem with all television and film, is that somebody else has to put it together, and you're not there. You're on to the next job.
But you always heard those stories about one time, wasn't it Doris Day? You always wanted to be shot through gauze or some kind of lighting, and
there are certain actors like certain kind of lighting, and I guess if you can demand it and get it, you got it.
Otherwise, you don't.
You can't do that in a sitcom, unfortunately, because as I said, the lights have to be pretty simple.
Yeah.
End up with, and you can't do it on television in general, mainly because of the time factor. Television is really racing against the clock, trying to put everything in a can within a certain limit. Otherwise, no matter how successful it is, you're losing money. You've stopped doing. pretty soon you don't have people backing it.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. I have a couple questions for Mr. Linden. Will you be singing in your new TV show?
As a matter of fact, I did already. We've shot 6 episodes, and they'll be on the air in, I think, late May. Now, the character has a cabaret in which performers appear, and there's a piano, bass, and drum, in case anybody, for a little trio playing. I do not regularly appear in the show, but there have already been a couple of times in these 6 episodes when I actually sat down at the piano and sang a tune, and one time when I pulled out my clarinet and played a little clarinet just a cappella, and one time when I had to play as an emergency, we needed a band, and Tom Scott came in, and I played with Tom Scott. That was an exciting event. So a couple of yeses, but not on a regular basis. I'm not going to be regularly appearing. It would take the odd show that would have to have a reason for it.
You're going to have to watch it regularly to catch it. Now, believe it or not, my husband and I have ended up with tickets for 2 of your shows, ISU at Normal, and then the following night at Peoria. I was told by one person the show was not the same, and by another person it was. Will the shows be both the same at Normal and at Peoria?
Oh, yeah.
They are.
They'll be the same show. No, I mean, we're touring now pretty much throughout America, and we couldn't really... Well, first of all, it wouldn't be fair to change the show. I mean, why shouldn't the people of Peoria see the same show?
Well, it was advertised a little different for the Peoria Civic thing than it was advertised for ISU, so I was just curious. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And what network will your show be on?
ABC, back on ABC.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah.
We have an orchestra with you?
Oh, yes. Full orchestra.
So they will be both the same shows. One show isn't going to have an orchestra, and one's going to have a banjo player and a harmonica.
No, we're trooping the same show.
Okay. I've always been amazed at how that works because, quite frankly, it's pretty hard to take a whole orchestra with you. But you pick up musicians as you go around, don't you?
We're picking them up regionally. I actually travel with my conductor and my... actually, 4 people will be traveling the whole tour. Trumpet, trombone, piano, conductor, and drums.
Okay.
And the rest of the musicians are indeed picked up, but they're picked up locally, regionally. So I would imagine the same group that's playing Normal will be playing Peoria. They'll be probably out of Chicago area.
Okay.
The whole segment that's near Chicago would use that band.
All right. Good morning. Whoops, an open line there. How about you? You're on the air with Hal Linden. Going once, twice. Let me break for this. We'll be right back.
If you think it's tough sometimes keeping your child entertained for just an hour, think about this. During summer vacation, your kid will have almost 1,000 hours away from school. That's why the YMCA Summer Fun Camp is available for children aged 7 through 12. The YMCA Summer Fun Camp offers a wide variety of activities, games, swimming, field trips, gym activities, and much more. For registration and additional information, call Phil at the YMCA 827-6233. That's 827-6233 for the YMCA Summer Fun Camp.
Ever thought about the common wallet? For some, it's a status symbol.
Genuine eelskin.
For others, a photo album.
Here's Clyde's first birthday party. Here's
of course, what you want most is a wallet that's fat, huge, pleasantly plump. For that, use Diphenate 2 insecticide from ICI. Excellent rootworm control for about $1 an acre less than Counter or Lorsban. Whatever else your wallet may
Here's
be.
a shot of Brenda's tuber recital.
Make it cash heavy. Save with Diphenate 2. The sensible choice. Restricted use pesticide. Always follow label directions.
Tornadoes. Anyone who lives in central Illinois knows what a threat they can be. Hi, I'm Bill Houlihan. Now that tornado season is here, it's time to be sure you know how to protect your family and property from danger. Tune in to Funnel Facts on Channel 10 for all the information on what to do and where to go in the event of a tornado. Check the Pantagraph's TV listing for dates and times and get the facts with Funnel Facts. Funnel Facts is sponsored by State Farm Insurance.
It's 11:25 in the morning. We're talking with Hal Linden, who will be in Bloomington Normal on April 22nd at Illinois State University. We didn't even mention FYI, which is the award-winning public service series that you did. You won some Emmys for that, didn't you?
Yes, we did. We won a couple of Emmys there. That was ABC again. I've had, I guess, most of my success with ABC, now that I think about it. ABC again, and something that ABC should be really proud of. They devoted about 3 years to a series of public service announcements that To this day, I'm still getting letters from people saying, you changed my life, that I heard about so-and-so, and I went to a doctor, and sure enough, I had it. And, so we occasionally get to do something that has a lasting effect with people. I mean, it's nice to entertain people, make them laugh, make them cry, but every so often, if you can change their lives.
Yeah. I remember Jack Benny, who I just adored and still do, saying that if he'd be able to give it up, he would have liked to have been a classical violinist, a classical musician, even if it meant never getting another laugh the rest of his life, which seems strange to me because he was so funny. But I think somewhere I've read where you said, you could have been a musician had you worked harder at it.
Yes.
Do you ever have any regrets, or you got to be pretty happy to be able to do a variety of things? That has to be rewarding.
That's the wonderful thing about doing the act that I do. When I do this show with symphony orchestras, which I do quite a bit, I actually play a movement of the Mozart Clarinet Concerto. So I'm really not that far from performing classically. I could identify with Jack. When you spend your youth preparing for something, as Jack and I did, because we both started out trying to be legitimate musicians, there's a little feeling about it that never leaves. And when you get the opportunity to stand in front of a symphony orchestra and play Mozart, this is something that very few people in life ever get to experience. I can identify with that with Jackson.
What kind of numbers are you going to be doing? You say you're going to be doing some Mozart then?
Well, no.
Not in this show. This is what, big band kind of things?
Symphony. Oh, I do. Like most acts, it's basically autobiographical. And when you've had as checkered a career as I've had, that's a pretty wide variety of material. I was a band singer, so there's material from the band. I was a Broadway singer, so there's material from Broadway.
So when you say a checkered career, you never really played checkers. You just.
But I mean, there's all kinds of music. We do a little Dixieland. We do a little big band stuff. We do a little. There's a little bit of everything.
Okay. Well, look forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, I can tell.
I got to. I don't want to blow my own horn. Why not? I'll blow my own horn.
Make it a clarinet if you want.
Doing this presentation for a few years now, and it's just gotten tighter and tighter and better, and the audiences love it more and more. We just got off the QE2. I was saying I came around the world, and I appeared on the Queen Elizabeth QE2, during which the audience was about 1/3 people from India, about 1/3 from the British Empire, Brits and South Africans, and about 1/3 Americans. And I thought, well, gee, that's going to be a little tough because most of my identification is Barney Miller with America. And yet, it went as well as it ever does.
Don't you love those trips when they give the instructions on how to use the life vests and all that stuff, and you have to wait about 12 minutes while I go through all the different languages?
That's right. But it's as I say, the presentation is universal and has been quite successful so far. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, I really enjoyed your work. Barney Miller, one of my favorite shows, and a lot of the other things you've done too, show that you strive for perfection. And
always.
And that's probably one of the things we should all try to do most every day. I will invite people out April 22nd to Illinois State University's Braden Auditorium. If you don't have tickets yet, don't fool around because I'm sure they're going to go fast, but there are some available at this point. Give them a call over there.
I got to tell you, they've been going pretty fast all across the country wherever we've been working. We just added a show I'm doing 3 concerts in Baltimore. They just added a 4th because 3 were sold out.
Okay. Hal, I've enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Bye-bye now.
It's 11:30.